Finding a military relic can be a total adrenaline rush, but let's be real, it's not always a safe adventure. An unexploded bomb, for example, would be a jaw-dropping find for a historian, but it might still be live and ready to go boom if you poke it the wrong way. We guess that only adds to the excitement, and hopefully you'll feel a bit of that rush as you watch this video of the most incredible military finds. And trust us, each discovery is crazier than the last. Let's start off with number 15, Heverde Sande Nazi bunkers. In the shadow of the sand dunes set against the stunning wild beach of Huvig, these brutalist concrete structures stand as a stark reminder of the Nazi occupation of Denmark during World War II. After World War I, driven by unrest and Hitler's magnetic leadership, the Nazi Party expanded in Germany. The Nazis blamed the Jews, communists, liberals, and pacifists for the Great Depression and vowed to restore Germany's status in the world. Denmark declared itself a neutral party at the outset of World War II, but just a few months after the official start of the conflict, Germany began occupying the territory. Throughout the war, a resistance movement emerged, and many Danish Jews fled the country when German authorities ordered their internment as part of the Holocaust. Germany's interest in the Danish region was strategic. The Nazis hoped they could use its position to better attack Norway. They built about 50 bunkers in the Huvig area, many of which survive today, scattered across the dunes and along the beach. Now empty, damp, and graffitied, these weathered concrete blockhouses are still worth a visit for any history, architecture, or photography enthusiast. They also serve as a fantastic hide-and-seek playground for older children visiting the beach. And if you visit after dark, the bunkers provide the perfect platform from which to almost touch the dazzling stars above the North Sea. Number Viersen, Fort Eben Email. Once considered impenetrable, Fort Eben Email in Belgium is now easily breached by Mother Nature and anyone else who visits. A fort has stood at this strategic border site between Belgium and the Netherlands since before World War I, but it was massively expanded before World War II. By completion, it covered a sprawling 750,000 square yards and stretched out like an underground city with miles of tunnels. Despite its mighty reputation, Fort Eben Emael was swiftly defeated in 1940 when German paratroopers descended from the skies with explosives and flamethrowers. The poor soldiers inside became trapped sitting ducks, unable to defend themselves as Nazi ground forces marched in. The ease of the German victory was heavily celebrated in propaganda, and Belgium's military pride never fully recovered until after the war ended. Since then, the fort has remained abandoned, a solemn monument to a devastating loss and a powerful reminder that even the strongest walls can crumble in a moment if Nazis attack. Number 13, Bloven Beach Mule Bunkers. Turning a war bunker into a museum is one thing, but turning it into a piece of surreal public art, now that's something else entirely. It may sound like a Reddit joke, except it is real, and it happened at Bloven Beach in Denmark. During World War II, more than 7,000 bunkers were scattered across the Jutland Peninsula. They remained untouched for decades, grim reminders of conflict until the 1990s. To mark the 50th anniversary of the end of hostilities, 24 international artists were invited to transform the site. Among the standout creations were British sculptor Bill Woodrow's steel mule heads and tails, attached to 4 of the old bunkers. His choice wasn't random. Mules, being sterile, symbolize the idea that the horrors of war should never be repeated. Today, the mule bunkers stand like strange sentinels on the beach, outlasting many other installations from that project. They're not just sculptures, they're powerful metaphors, reminders that even the strongest empires and armies can end in silence and stillness. Number 12, Bunkers in Statswald. In the 1950s, during the Cold War, American forces built 28 above-ground bunkers across the Statswald forest near Schwäbisch Gmünd, Germany. They were used to store ammunition and supplies, with around 60 workers handling the tough job of moving concrete by hand before a proper mixing plant was set up at the site. Once finished, the bunkers were covered with thick bushes and trees to stay hidden from aerial surveillance. Fences kept them out of sight, but heavy military traffic at night was hard for the locals in Waldstetten to ignore. Despite rumors over the years, no nuclear weapons were ever officially kept inside the bunkers. After the American military left Schwäbisch Gmünd, the site was abandoned. Over time, nature took over. Today, the bunkers have been repurposed as shelters for endangered bat species. What was once a secretive military zone is now a quiet place where wildlife thrives under the canopy of the forest. Number 11. Winkel Towers of Zossen, Germany. Among the many strange remnants of World War II, the Winkel Towers in Zossen, Germany, stand out immediately, and we mean like, why not? Unlike traditional bunkers, these towering cone-shaped structures look almost alien, resembling giant missiles or rockets more than fortifications. Locals sometimes call them concrete cigars, a nod to their odd appearance. Designed by architect Leo Winkel, these bunkers were crafted to deflect bomb impacts rather than absorb them directly. Their narrow, rounded shape meant that bombs would likely slide off rather than detonate on impact. The strategy proved remarkably effective, with only a single Winkel Tower recorded as having been destroyed during Allied bombings. Close to Berlin and the Nazi Supreme Command Center, these bunkers were critical shelters during air raids. Roughly 200 Winkel Towers once existed across Germany, though many have since vanished. The ones that survive are a strange mix of engineering brilliance and eerie wartime history, standing quietly as reminders of a desperate era that reshaped the world forever. Number 10. Bunker S414 at Battery Noordwijk. The peaceful beaches of Noordwijk, Netherlands, hide a heavy past beneath their sands. Before World War II, this area was just a pleasant golf course, but after Nazi forces seized control, it was transformed into a heavily fortified military zone, just like in The Lord of the Rings. They constructed living quarters, training grounds, and most notably, Battery Noordwijk's bunker S414. With walls a staggering 10 feet thick, this command bunker was built with enough concrete to fill 300 modern cement trucks. It became a critical part of the Atlantic Wall, Hitler's vast network of coastal defenses. The old sand dunes and grassy hills were ripped apart and reshaped to hide the massive structures beneath. Bunker S414, standing 3 stories tall with panoramic ocean views, escaped burial and today operates as a museum. Visitors can explore this towering remnant of history, walking the very floors where soldiers once braced for Allied attacks. Most of the other bunkers, though, have long since disappeared under shifting sands. Number 9. RAF Stenigate. Just look at them, RAF Stenig. Once stood at the front line of Britain's early warning system, guarding against the threat of German and Soviet attacks. Opened in 1938, it became part of the Chain Home radar network, helping detect incoming enemy raids during World War II. Later, it was adapted by NATO as a vital communications post under the codename Ace High. The station featured 8 towering aerial masts, intercepting signals that shaped the course of wartime operations. Its usefulness persisted into the Cold War, but by the mid-1980s, the site fell into disuse. Demolition work started in the 1990s, but for years the massive radar dishes lay abandoned across the fields, slowly rusting into relics of a bygone era. Today, the land still belongs to the UK's Ministry of Defence, although the remaining structures are little more than ghostly reminders of a time when threats loomed large over Europe. RAF Stenigate may no longer buzz with radio chatter, but its history still echoes across the landscape. Number 8. Vozrozhdeniya Island. Vozrozhdeniya Island in the Aral Sea holds secrets that most would rather not uncover. During the height of the Cold War, this isolated landmass became a hub for the Soviet Union's biological weapons experiments. The testing site, known only as Uralsk 7, was so secretive it didn't even appear on official maps. Today, the island remains closed to the public, and for good reason. Its sands are saturated with toxic pesticides, and trees have long since withered into skeletal remains. Soil tests have detected remnants of smallpox, anthrax, typhus, and brucellosis, terrifying pathogens that in some cases still survive harsh conditions. Anthrax spores in particular have proven nearly impossible to eradicate, withstanding both chemical disinfectants and extreme heat. Bosrosdenia isn't just an abandoned military relic, it's a dangerous scar left behind by human ambition. Where once Soviet scientists worked in secret, only poisoned earth and silent ruins remain, silently warning against the reckless pursuit of power at any cost. Number 7. Bolshoi to Uter's Island. Bolshoi to Uter's Island in Russia's Leningrad Oblast is a haunting monument to wartime devastation. Originally home to a Finnish population for centuries, the island was seized by German forces during World War II and fortified into a military stronghold. When Soviet troops reclaimed the territory in 1944, the Germans evacuated in haste, leaving behind massive stockpiles of ammunition, guns, and artillery. To this day, the island remains dangerously littered with unexploded ordnance, making any exploration a gamble. Minefields still dot the landscape, and the only permanent resident is a solitary lighthouse keeper. Unlike many abandoned sites reclaimed by nature or urban development, Bolshoi to Uters has remained largely untouched, locked in a time capsule of conflict. Its eerie, rusting relics speak volumes about a past where hurried retreats left behind ghosts of military ambition. Few places offer such a raw, unfiltered look at the immediate aftermath of war. A place where the price of conquest and withdrawal is frozen across the battered soil. Number 6. Flak Towers of Vienna. The Flak Towers of Vienna are massive concrete giants that still dominate parts of the city's skyline. Built during World War II under Hitler's direct orders, these imposing fortresses were part of a network of heavy anti-aircraft defenses across Berlin, Hamburg, and Vienna. Vienna alone had 6 flak towers, each capable of firing up to 8,000 rounds per minute and offering 360-degree protection against Allied bombers. Beyond their brutal military role, these structures also served as air raid shelters, capable of housing up to 10,000 civilians during bombardments. Their 10-foot-thick walls were designed to withstand near-direct hits, and for a time they were nearly indestructible. Even when Allies developed bombs capable of penetrating them, pilots often chose to avoid the towers entirely, especially the infamous Flak Term 7. Today, some of the towers have found new life. One, Flak Term 2nd, now houses an aquarium known as Haus de Meeres. Others remain hollowed-out monuments to a past that reshaped Vienna forever. Number 5. Top-secret bunkers beneath cities. The thought of a top-secret military bunker hidden under the streets of your hometown sounds like something out of a spy movie, but it's very real. Forgotten military relics like these are scattered across the world if you know where to search. Thanks to some determined explorers, we're able to uncover so many of these lost pieces of history. One of the most famous examples is Germany's Dragon's Teeth defense line, more accurately known as the Siegfried Line or West Wall. Found near Metlock, Germany, these moss-covered, graffiti-tagged anti-tank barriers stretch on for 2,000 feet. Built between 1936 and 1940, the wall once included over 177,000 bunkers, each weighing 9 tons. German soldiers once hid behind these barriers, expecting a French invasion that never arrived. Instead, the Nazis easily stormed France with little resistance. Today, nature has reclaimed much of the site, but the bunkers remain impressively intact. Hikers now visit to enjoy the quiet landscape and walk through a living piece of forgotten history. Number 4. Panther Tank in Hagendorf. Germany's War Weapons Control Act doesn't leave much room for personal collections, a fact a 78-year-old man in Hagendorf learned the hard way. In 2015, authorities seized a World War II Panther tank from his property, a process so challenging that modern military equipment had to be brought in just to move it. Along with the tank, officials uncovered a torpedo and an anti-aircraft gun, neither of which the man had a legal permit for. His defense claimed the weapons were non-functional, but the court was unmoved, handing him a substantial fine. Strangely, locals had long known about the tank. Many remembered seeing him drive it around during snowy winters decades ago. The Panther, well preserved thanks to being stored in a cellar, still held its imposing form. Unlike rusted relics left exposed to the elements, this one remained a powerful symbol of history hidden in plain sight. Although the incident stirred plenty of media attention, it also highlighted just how closely the past can cling to everyday life without people even realizing it. Number 3. Soho Bomb. Well, this is just scary. February 2020 brought an unexpected and alarming discovery to the bustling center of London. Construction workers in Soho unearthed an unexploded German bomb left behind from a World War II air raid. Once the bomb disposal unit arrived, the original exclusion zone had to be expanded after realizing just how powerful the device was. It's remarkable that when the bomb was dropped decades ago, it didn't explode on impact, especially considering it weighed over 500 pounds and had created a sizable crater upon landing. Experts worked swiftly, spending a few tense hours defusing the threat. Despite the disruption, London's iconic spirit prevailed. Theater shows went ahead as planned, and office workers returned to business as usual, as if pausing for a quick tea break before moving on. It was a reminder that even in one of the world's busiest cities, fragments of wartime history can still surface without warning, forcing a modern world to stop and take notice even briefly. Number 2. Fort Stachelberg. Built in anticipation of a German invasion that never came, Fort Stachelberg in Trutnov stands as a frozen moment in history. Intended as the first line of defense for Czechoslovakia, construction halted after the Sudetenland was ceded to Hitler under the disastrous policy of appeasement in 1938. Without a single shot fired, the Nazis gained control, and Fort Stachelberg never fulfilled its intended purpose. Today, the unfinished fort serves as a museum, though its exhibits are limited by the fact that no battle ever took place there. Most of the structures cluster around the main site, but smaller bunkers are scattered across the surrounding hillsides, accessible to curious hikers. Fort Stachelberg is a quiet reminder that not all stories of war involve glory or tragedy. Some are about opportunities lost before they ever had a chance to unfold. Walking its silent corridors, visitors step into a world shaped more by politics than by battle. Number 1. Fort Peninsula. Hidden in the quiet fishing village of Gaspé, Quebec, Fort Peninsula looks almost out of place. Built during World War II, it was tasked with defending Allied shipping convoys passing through the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The fort officially became active on May 1st, 1942, just in time. German U-boats were spotted nearby only a week later. Between 1942 and 1944, the fort played a crucial role in sinking 23 enemy vessels, including an impressive 5 in a single day during the Battle of the St. Lawrence. As the tide of war shifted in favor of the Allies, the fort's strategic importance dwindled. By October 1944, most of its heavy weaponry had been dismantled. Today, Fort Peninsula sits largely abandoned, but efforts to preserve its memory continue. Two QF 4.7-inch B Mark V guns have been reinstalled to breathe life back into the bunkers. Visitors now walk through a site that once helped turn the tide against German forces in Canadian waters. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon in the next one.